This week's episode is brought to you by abs. The muscles in your stomach that I will never be able to accentuate because I like Dr. Pepper too much. Ab muscles are something you get when you work out and diet and exercise. And I will never have them. But Altmile will. Ab muscles. Yeah, Altmile, you get it. Get those gains. Welcome to Nexus at Night, the podcast where the concept is Gear Chronicle during G-Era, and the execution is Gear Chronicle right now. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
Is he okay? What's wrong with him?
I'm Proof. What's going on, Nexus team?
That was a good intro. That was very
Yes.
Thank you. I thought of it on the way home.
good. That's
That was
good.
good. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, man. Gear Chronicle may now have the astral plane guy as a bind
Valkyrian?
target, but it's just not enough, is it?
So I keep forgetting Gear Chronicle is a clan people can play in Standard. Legitimate. Like, I forget they exist.
I haven't seen that clan in a long time.
They just didn't do anything.
Somebody on Vanguard EX was like, yeah, you just open the Gear Chronicle booster and you have like every card immediately. Or you buy the Gear Chronicle TD, then open the booster a bunch of like infinite CP. And I was like, Gear Chronicle is a clan? Like, I didn't even didn't even cross my mind.
I was watching old episodes of G at work today, and I was like, man, Gear Chronicle used to be so scary, and now it's just not.
Yeah.
I want
It's
your
not
job.
a real clan anymore.
I mean, I like how they go, all right, everyone gets support once a year, and they're getting support a year and some change, so they're like, we're taking the time travel thing super seriously.
No, they said it's going to be a calendar year. So as long as you fall within the year, that's your one support for said year.
Oh, so it could be like 50, or it could be like, 20 months between one set of support to the next.
Yep.
Absolutely horrendous.
Spikes waited 15 months between releases.
Yeah.
That was
And
a fun
Bermuda
time.
is getting a second set in December. Bermuda Triangle has more support than Gear
Oh.
Chronicle now.
I don't even want to imagine Bermuda support right now, but I'm ready for everyone to be really mad about it.
Same.
Same.
I mean,
Same.
I'm hoping the Bermuda stuff is just medium. Like, I want it to be medium to medium minus.
Oh, that's not going to be the case.
Oh,
Didn't they already announce more Melody support? And then they announced like Pacifica and them girls?
Oh boy.
I knew it was like Riviera and Pacifica, but I assumed they were going to go off in their own direction.
They likely will, but as long as Melody's around and Sonata continues to be busted with Caro, anything they add to it is just going to put more fuel to the fire.
Mm-hmm. Soon they won't even need Lee's a lot.
Right? When they spoiled that card for the TD, I was just like, excuse me?
Yeah, I was so mad.
I was the warden from Holes. Excuse me?
Freaking gold paladin card in freaking Bermuda.
Yep.
Let's just put two decent spike cards together into one thing that make it free. That's smart.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. And you can just call it while you're grade 1.
Yeah. And then ride in and get it again. Fun.
Anyway, we're 3 minutes into the episode. We haven't even said what the topic is. We should probably do that.
Is there ever a topic when I'm around?
What? There is extremely a topic when you're around, usually.
Proof is the topic.
Proof is the topic.
Centralizing topic.
When everything's the topic, nothing is. Anyway. So, the reason we brought Proof here today is not to specifically talk about Spike Brothers, but it's a little bit like that.
You lie.
We mostly wanted to kind of pick your brain because you are one of the few Vanguard YouTubers who has chosen to focus on a specific clan.
Yes.
Which is kind of like if you're a city planner whose whole job is to design one apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very interesting, and I was just curious, what made you decide to do that? Because there are Vanguard YouTubers literally everywhere, and you kind of set yourself out from the rest by just going, okay, I'm gonna go niche within niche here.
So it wasn't by design. It's just that I have a very addictive personality to things that I enjoy. And when I started doing YouTube content, the basis of it was I like Spike Brothers. I think the bad end stuff is good because it was around Break Ride era. And so more people should know about this. So kind of picked up, this is way back, rudimentary. I actually recorded with my cell phone to get video content out there just before I knew about recording software. But I was like, I want people to know that spikes are actually pretty good. So that's where it started. I did branch off into some other things. Like, since this was Break Ride era, I did do some stuff with the Blau support, and I never recorded with Novell, but I had it in my arsenal. And then as things branched off, I just kind of focused in on spikes because that's where my interests most lied. And if I enjoyed it, it was kind of a hobby. So I was like, let me put some stuff out there that kind of interests me and put it in ways that I haven't seen it done before. And it kind of spun in and became this own entity. And that's where it started. And then along the way, some fortunate breaks kind of happened. We can get to that in a little bit later if you want to talk about where the quote unquote big break things kind of happen.
Yes.
But as things kind of spun off, I kind of became known as the Spike guy, even though I'm not necessarily the best Spike player, but I do look at it like I do deep dives into it, and maybe people might think about things a little bit differently, or they might hear me say something in a way that they haven't thought about themselves to give a new look into something. And that's what I enjoy. I like being able to provoke thoughts with people, and maybe they might have seen something a little bit differently that they didn't expect to see a certain way.
Yeah, I've probably said this. I probably told this story, 4 or 5 times in this podcast by now. But I haven't said it in a while, so I thought I'd say it again. I first found proof kind of by I think it was when the first G extra booster for Spikes came out, which was Reckless Rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't know what there's 3 decks I could be playing right now. Like, which deck am I supposed to be playing? Was my original thing, because I had the Break Ride Legion with the extra stride support that people were playing before Reckless Rampage. That was just kind of awful.
Yep.
And then I watched your video. I'm like, are we supposed to do that and just add new strides or what? And then I looked at your video, and then I kind of looked back on your channel just to see what kind of videos you had made beforehand. And I was like, oh, you seem to make a lot of Spike stuff. All right. Seems like you play a lot of Spikes. It seemed like it seemed to me like you would be knowledgeable about Spikes because you did a lot of Spike stuff, specifically Spikes. And I was like, all right. And I watched the video, and I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And it helped me select which Spikes variant I wanted to play, which I think was the Miracle Ace version, because that's what everyone was doing, right? Rising Miracle Ace shenanigans.
Yeah. That deck actually wasn't my original idea. Actually, it was Clash from my now Discord, then Pojo. Shout outs to Clash.
Oh my god, Pojo! I forgot about Pojo.
Yeah, I used to be on Pojo more exclusively back in the day.
I remember going on there back when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, guys, I found this deck profile on the Yu-Gi-Oh Wikia. How good is it? And they're like, are you really getting your deck list from the Wikia? What the fuck are you doing here?
Dark times.
Yeah, that was early Teledad format too, so I was getting my ass handed to me.
I somehow have never used Pojo.
Yeah,
wow.
Same.
I've been on Pojo since Duel Masters back in high school. So that's how long I've been. That's how long I've been there.
I've been playing Magic for 17 years, and I've never once used Pojo.
See, Pojo is more of an outlet for, in my mind, it's more for the Yu-Gi-Oh crowd, and then a bunch of smaller games. Like for Magic content, there's so many different outlets and dedicated websites like Channel Fireball and stuff like that, to where you can get your content elsewhere and not have to go into Pojo. And they have their own forums and communities as well. So you kind of get the Pojo experience without having to deep dive into some of the mad bads that might be lurking around Pojo.
Well, like there's like an alt-right Magic community or something? What do you mean?
In terms of mad bads or in terms of
No.
Magic?
No, they're just mad at things about the game, but also bad at the game.
Oh, that's
Mad-
what.
You never heard the term mad bad before?
I have never heard the term, and I kind of like it. Is that Magic exclusive, or is that...
No, that's not. That is, I got it from my group of friends, and it's kind of coming to its own as a term because I use it a lot in my Discord channel. It's basically kind of like the loud, bad people who
Gear
kind
cancer?
of... Something like that. It's kind of like the people who have awful opinions about the game, but they are very boisterous about those opinions. They kind of stick their heads out every once in a while just to voice them and get shut down, and then they go back away, but then they come back again later. They're kind of like a cockroach. But
What I'm hearing is basically the trading card game version of an incel.
maybe not as bad in terms of that, but they are. It's just kind of a collective, all-inclusive term for general badness that people like to sling around.
Root Beer, you
I
going to
enjoy
say
it.
something?
No, I was just saying, like, seems like a pretty simple concept. They're bad at the game, they're also upset at the game, and they're very loud about it.
Yep, mad bads.
People like this exist in every fandom. I see it all the time in various video games.
I'm more than happy to bestow the usage of Mad Bad on the Nexus Corps YouTube channel.
We accept the usage with grace, and we will use it with impunity, and probably just at each other. If we're being honest, it's probably just going to be
That's not
Gabe doing
not
it
too
with
bad.
people. Yeah.
I found the video that I searched for it. It was Cold Hard Proof F2.
Oh yeah, I used to like making themes around puns of my name for a series. So Cold Hard Proof was the combo centric videos, but then I kind of realized that I really only cared about doing combos about spikes. So when I tried to venture into other clans, it wasn't nearly as good as I wanted it to be. So it kind of fell off after a while.
I see.
But the basis around it was to kind of show what a combo can do and how much guard is generated from it in a pretty common situation. But that kind of went away because G guards happened, which kind of skewed what is allowed to for guarding.
So instead of like,
So
all
I
right,
found it at the time, it was great.
yeah.
But yeah, I mostly agree.
Well, maybe
How
not in
much is a
standard.
heal
you can
worth
win.
now?
What?
Wait, what?
I asked, like, how much is a heal worth, like, once G-Guards came out, is, like, now clan dependent, which it makes it difficult.
Yeah, it makes it much harder. It's like, is it a 15k guard? Is it a 25k guard? Do you just average it out and say that it might be a 20k guard like it is for standard now? It was all bad. So then I would try to skew it to consider cards forced out of hand on an average occurrence, but then math got tricky, and then I was like, it's not worth it to keep putting the charts together at this point.
I think now that we have this reboot and there's no G guards anymore in standard, you could probably bring that back.
You could, but it'd mostly be centered around Excel clans because they're the ones that have the more extensive attack sequences.
Yeah, I mean, well, some Force clans have the ability to hint Shadow Paladin, but
They could, but it's not like a long, innovative chain that's worth looking into, in my opinion.
It's
It's
Blaster
like
Dark,
the-
Blaster Dark, Mordred, Blaster Dark, Blaster Dark.
Yeah, so it's 20-20 or 30-30 or 30-40 or 30-20. It kind of scales in on itself. So it's like, it's one card here, maybe it's two cards because it's 30k, and then it restand with additional boosts. So you just kind of just double it up from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super innovative, so it's not really fun to look into.
Yeah. And it's kind of by design a very simple combo, so like
Yeah.
there's no real reason to go in depth in it when there's nothing really to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I started watching you back when you were doing like your Miracle Ace combo, so like those can be kind of tricky. I remember when we were playing in the hub, our resident spiked players would occasionally mess up the combos and kind of drop games because of it.
Mm-hmm. But you had to keep track of 3 resources. You had to keep track of Counter Blast, keep track of Soul, and keep track of your hand. Actually 4, because you had to keep track of charge units in said hand at the same time. So that so that's what made it more of a fun, intricate thing to keep track of. And I think that's what made it more fun for the viewer to look into. It's like, oh yeah, like if you have X amount of Soul, you can call 4 cards, and then Frog Raider gets buffed because Frog Raider was the best card in Spike's G era, but we don't talk about that too much. But just kind of keeping track of all those resources at the same time while to pull off a combo made it more fun for me to look into. And that's where the basis came from.
I don't think I ever asked this to you specifically. So, in your first builds with Reckless Rampage, did you have the stand trigger in your deck?
Devil Watch?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. I
think I did not for like the first several builds of Miracle Ace that
I
make.
I want to say I didn't.
And then at some point I was like, wait.
Well, because I think it's because you were seeing it as a stand trigger. And, like, this is coming from the podcast that did a whole episode about why stand triggers are terrible. And this is before we kind of figured out that stand triggers are used for their effects, not for being stand triggers. So, like, that preconceived notion was blocking your,
Well, especially in Spikes, stand triggers have been notoriously bad.
Oh, of course.
Yes. Because the entire mechanic doesn't synergize.
Like, all your guys just leave and come back, and so the stand trigger does nothing. So, like, I was looking at it like, man, like, I think this card is, like, I was like, how worth is having a 7k charger, first of all? How worth is it to have a counter charge and a soul charge? The soul charge actually matters a lot. And how important is it that I have an extra charge unit? Is the part things I weren't weighing against the fact that, like, it being an extra charge unit and it being a counter charge soul charge ended up being the larger portion.
And thinking back on it, I can say with 100% certainty, my first builds did not have Devil Watch in it at all. Because thinking along the same line as you, I was like, what am I going to do with a stand trigger with charge units? It makes no sense. But then after I looked into it, it was like, oh yeah, like these resources are important. I should probably look into this.
Yeah. I was like, I need another way, because I was playing the stupid elephant, right?
And
I was like, there's got to be a way to not play this guy. And then I was like, wait.
It's like, oh yeah, this card. But then it was like, it takes up a slot in your triggers, and like, I hated wrestling with myself for the trigger lineup. It was always wonky. It always felt bad no matter what. It was like,
do I play 2? Do I play 6 crit? Do I play 5?
Yeah, do I play this third Devil Watch in case I damage check them? But I never want to see it early. I was like, oh god, I hate this. Do I play 5 crit? Do I play 4 crit? Do I play full rainbow? Oh Jesus.
How many draws do I need in this deck?
Yeah, it's like my hand needs. I need the cards in my hand, but also I can't die because if I have a fistful of 5Ks, so it was all bad.
Fistful of 5K sounds like a fantastic name for an autobiography.
It'd be a future memoir. It'd be like the name of my documentary.
Yeah.
Fistful of 5Ks, the proof story.
Yeah. Then you get sued by Clint Eastwood's ghost. Like, unless he's still alive for some reason, I could see him doing that. Just
he's still alive. Oh, he could still like when Proof is writing his memoir. Somehow he's still alive.
Yeah. Like Clint Eastwood stubbornly refuses to die. He's just like,
I believe it.
They're just in a tube somewhere. I want to debate.
It's like Futurama. His head is in a glass somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what it'll be.
I want to debate the empty chair with Obama in it again. So,
but G-Air... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, there are very few other YouTubers that do what you do. And those being, so far that I can find, only Aquaforce people. The only two other channels that I've found that, like, kind of do that specialization thing are Commander Jaime, who has disappeared from the face of the earth, and Wave Nation, who we have had on this very podcast. And you kind of seem to have cornered the market to the point where you have a very successful Discord with a bunch of servers in it where SolemnVanguard comes to hang out sometimes.
Yeah. We call it Proof Court Worldwide. It's like, we call it Switzerland. Like, it's very neutral. Everybody comes in and chills, can talk, have fun. And that's, like, even though my content centers around spikes, I've always been person who wants to be very inclusive. So, like, when people come in, I don't try to discourage non-spike talk. Like, let people do their thing, talk about their clans that they love and enjoy. And it kind of helps build a community around it, knowing that when spike time happens, it's going to be spike chat. But, like now. But in general, like, I just want people to have fun, like, have a zone where they can talk about the things that they like and enjoy in a environment that's not very judgy. So I try to keep down on the mad bads and, like, things like that. Like, I enjoy that. And I think that's what keeps people coming back around, is knowing that it's kind of a nice, cool place to hang out and kind of shoot the shit sometimes and talk about whatever. That's not necessarily Vanguard.
And I remember at a point you were doing videos on, like, other clan, kind of taking ideas and feedback from the Discord.
Yeah, that kind of died because I'm not doing it full time. If I was doing content creation full time, then I would definitely be venturing out into more like meta decks and meta profiles and stuff like that. But if I have such a finite time to actually create something because I'm working and then family life and trying to make sure that I spend time with my wife and things like that, that if I'm going to make content for fun and not for living, then I'm going to make it for something that I enjoy. And that's usually centered around spikes. Excuse me. So it can be tough because the content does center around Bushiroad's release schedule and how much they want to give Spike some love, but I make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of preaching to the choir here. Have you listened to, like, I'm guessing about maybe a fifth of our episodes are just us being like, oh shit, what are we going to talk about this week? Nothing interesting has happened.
Yeah, and then we just pull this weird topic out of our ass and go off topic for 20 minutes.
And that's how you get the God Hand episode.
God Hand is sweet, though.
It is.
Oh, the Front Trigger episode?
Yes. Yeah. Well, no. The one specific... Yeah, the second Front Trigger episode.
Yeah.
The first one was fine.
There was 2 Front Trigger episodes?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they were... I thought they were the same episode.
No,
see, I didn't know.
No, there's a Front Trigger fuckery from, like, a year and some change ago.
Yeah, the first Front Trigger episode was the one where we said Front Triggers are bad. And the second Front Trigger episode was actually they're much better than we thought because of Excel 2.
Yeah. Because of Excel 2 and God Hand, and then we were like, oh shit, it's only been 15 minutes. Let's...
okay.
Stuff. Like...
Excel 2 is dumb, though.
Yes, it is.
Don't get me started on that. We'll say that for a different podcast when you invite me back for a non-spike edition of Nexus at Night.
Ranks about Excel clans.
I mean, we had you on for that thought experiment one about the like
going second.
Going second, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was the rare one-off.
Yeah, that was your idea.
It was my idea.
Yeah.
That was my baby. I'll keep that one tucked away.
I quite enjoyed that, honestly.
It was fun. But if you guys want the raw thoughts about how I feel about things sometimes, definitely come to Discord, Proof Core, whatever you want to call it. Because
we will put it in the show notes so people can access it.
Hang out with Matt and Atlas whenever they're on, and maybe one day I'll actually crawl out of my cave and go back on Discord.
One day,
Yeah,
probably around fish season.
we both like I go on there like mostly during the day because my job is in front of a computer, and I have so many windows open at the same time. If my boss walks by, it doesn't look like anything. So, yeah, the reason I've been so active on there the last few weeks is I realized like I can have this open with my email, and they just think it's like something else.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Not in my current job, but in my old job.
As long as the work gets done, they don't really care what I do. It's nice.
Yep, exactly.
So, do you think like specializing in one clan has forced you to become more creative? Not obviously with your content, but with like deck building in general.
Yeah, it kind of makes me look into all the cards more with a keen eye for what it can do. Because, like, of course, when Bushiroad makes sets, they make cards that are good, they make cards that are bad, they make cards that are very good, and then they make the cards that are very bad. So it kind of, in my mind, excuse me, they all have some type of purpose. They may not be very good overall, but they do serve some type of role that can be explored when you put it into a deck somewhere. For example, a new card that came out for Spikes is Big Blow Ted, which says on place, put a grade 2 or greater from your drop zone back to the bottom of your deck, and it gets +10. And by itself is kind of not a great card because it's not live until later in the game. Otherwise, it's going to be an 8K vanilla. But then when you look into it, you can see if you apply it with Hellheart 8 combos and putting back certain grade 2s back to the deck, you can kind of loop your deck and attack a lot with Hellheart 8. Or you can use it to put back key pieces in standard to help set up general safety while having an 18K booster. So individually, it's not very good. But since Spikes are a clan about teamwork, and it always has been about teamwork, you kind of look at the pieces to see if they can come together to make a better whole. And kind of centralizing on Spikes has helped me get better at analyzing cards to be able to see where they fit in those more niche roles. Very diplomatic answer.
See, me, I just like, I think this card's bad, and I just will move on.
I mean, watching your channel kind of forces me to try and give at least a fair shake to every card reveal I see. And not just as, like, a content creator, but as a player. Where even for clans that I don't necessarily play, whenever something comes out, I'm not just going to be like, oh, this doesn't immediately scare me, therefore it's dumb. It's like, wow, I just realized how, like, if it's not yours, that's what it's supposed to do to, like, quote, be good. Is it just like, does this scare me in concept alone? Okay, cool.
No.
Like,
but it does make you be more creative, which has kind of led me to doing things like the recruit reports, which is my way of saying I'm going to look at this card individually and talk about it for 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. And it's kind of become a staple, I want to say, to the point to where people have reached out to me asking when I want to do recruit reports for said individual cards as they become released, which makes me feel good because it means that what I've been doing is effective in some capacity. And it comes from a content place that I enjoy doing and looking in and digging into the cards like I talked about. So at least even if the card is never seen play ever after the video, at least it had this moment in the sun to at least shine by itself. And that's what I like to see.
I got noticed.
yeah.
Senpai noticed me.
And if nothing else, you're like the guy to come talk to. And that's not just for like people who want to play Spikes, which I've noticed like to people who have been in the game for a while, everybody's kind of played Spike Brothers at least once.
It's a dabble type of clan. It's either you're all in or you give it a solid look for 2 seconds. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, and then you move on. But at least you give it a little bit of notice.
Yeah, everybody has like owned a Spike Brothers deck at least. It's like that kind of thing where everyone like gave a fair listen to Aaron Carter.
I did. I was too old by that point.
Not everybody enjoyed Aaron Carter, but everyone was like, I am going to give him a fair shake as a person. And
That's
he's
fair.
winning. I mean, he may have beat Shaq in a pickup basketball game with white privilege, but...
Is that even true? Is that even a thing that happened?
Yeah, one of his songs is just him beating Shaq in one-on-one. This is like 1999. This is Shaq at his fucking prime right here. So
I refuse to believe this is an event that actually occurred.
this is a real thing. Guys,
I think
No, I believe it's in the song.
Yes.
I don't believe it actually happened.
Oh, of course not. No, who does, honestly?
Shaq let him win, if anything.
Oh, I'm
He
sure.
paid Shaq to let him win.
Yeah, here's $1 million. Let this kid win.
Shaq's like, what? Whatever, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Look, we're trying to get 6-year-olds to buy the CD, and just fucking let them win, please.
One time.
Nexus at Night, the Riffing on Aaron Carter podcast. Why did that pop into my head?
I don't know.
Because everybody tried spikes.
I did. I first bought Spikes. It was Dudley Emperor. No Batten, just Dudley Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
And Juggernaut Maximum.
Yeah, it was Deli Emperor and Juggernaut Maximum. I remember that. I remember that deck fondly. It was attacking with things that could Soul Blast to get themselves the hell out the way, attack with Deadly Emperor, and bring them right back and do it again.
And Juggernaut Maximum wasn't that bad because he was 11k at least.
Yeah, the rare 11k in the 10k world. When things made 15, he was 11, just sitting there chilling.
Although you had cards to guard with anyway.
And I don't know if I've ever explained this on here before. I feel like I've mentioned on my channel about why I found my way to spikes in the first place. Does that ring a bell at all?
I don't think you have. I remember it coming up on the channel, but please do tell.
Okay, kind of 37 minutes in, and we're talking about how I found the clan that I do most of my content on. Doing things backwards sometimes, it's all good.
I mean, we have both the premium profile, and we have the Thought Experiment episode, and then I think we talked to you after you won that regional. So
Yeah.
it's
Nationals?
Yeah, that was ARG Nationals. Put some respect on my trophy, sir.
fine. Nationals. I can't remember who's who. I remember Solemn getting his first with the whole like yellow bolt rush thing, and I can't
That was Bushy Regionals.
see what I mean. Like it all kind of rubs together. I'm sorry. When you won ARG Nationals,
Thank
it
you.
might have
Thank
come
you,
up
good sir.
then. So please, people forget. I forget. What brought you to Spike Brothers?
So basically, I was kind of feeding off my prior TCG experiences, and the way that I like to play, I like to play things that are big and beefy, that is fast developing. So in Magic, typically it's like playing green things that kind of came out the board like faster than expected, having big 7/7s or things like that. Or in other card games, similarly speaking. And when it came to Vanguard, I kind of dabbled around with some other clans and kept getting beat by things here and there. And I kind of stumbled upon Juggernaut Maximum and Spikes and playing some other things because you could mix clans back then. So you would like mix in random spike things to help trigger Soulless OTT, for example, because that was a thing. But eventually, yeah. But once General Seyfried and them boys came out, Spikes was able to be a full-fledged clan finally. And that's when I started really noticing it and starting to take a look more into it. So the idea being that big attacks that are hard to handle that could then come back and attack again for a lot of damage that is hard to handle really appealed to me. And that's where, and since I was in the game early, that's when I started gravitating towards Spikes, and that's where it kind of stuck. And even though other clans came out later, like Great Nature, that could attack for big beefy damage and do similar Spike-esque things,
Fuck yeah,
I was already gung-ho Spike boy by that time, so it was kind of set in stone for me. So, long story short, fat attacks, do damage, get wins the Spike way. And this is kind of what I really always enjoyed, and it's kind of just stayed that way.
I understand this. I also like big beefy
Yes.
Why? Because Dimension Police and Tachikaze?
things. In Magic, I like to do the same kind of thing. I just throw giant monsters on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what you're
Deal with it.
Punching people in the face is always a fun play style.
Yep.
So what you're
Like I either like kind of shoving huge stuff on the board, or I like doing absolutely nothing.
I just like making as many attacks as possible. It's
That's
just
me
a shame
too.
that the clans that I like that do that aren't that good right now.
What
Fair.
Novus is fine.
Yeah, Novas. Another tale for another day.
Yeah.
Novus is really annoying, but anyway.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
why
but
I
I
like
don't
Pale
play
Moon so
Novus.
much. Because it was all about, like, pull out, attack, pull in, pull out, you know.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What?
Lewd.
God damn it.
God.
I walked right into... I didn't walk right into that one, like, as a setup. I just walked right... I just, staring at my phone, walked into a wall. Just that kind of level of stupid.
It's all good. It's well, for me it's 11:40 at night, so lack of coffee and dead brain and stuff like that. But I don't know what your excuse is.
Matt's on the East Coast too, and we record this at like usually 9 p.m. at Pacific time, so we start at midnight for him every week.
That's wild. I don't know how he does it.
Well, I don't have work till noon tomorrow, so also I'm like whatever.
Oh, must be nice.
That'll do it. Matt, I have a question.
What's up?
So in Magic, there are was it 6 colors of
5 colors.
5 colors: red, blue, green, black. Right, yeah,
And there's artifact.
Yeah, none of these colorless cards.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Aside
Bulbs
from
is
that,
not a hairstyle, so.
So, Magic has been around longer, and there's less colors, meaning that there are bigger card pools for each color. But are there any Magic YouTubers out there, or any like people who specialize just in one color?
Nobody specializes in one color. What people do is they specialize in strategies.
Explain.
So there's a couple different streamers who I'm thinking of. One of them's name is Caleb Scherer, and another one's name is Cyrus Corman-Gill, who both specialize in Storm as an archetype. So Storm is an archetype in Magic where the goal is to cast as many spells as humanly possible before casting some spell, which usually has the Storm keyword. And the Storm keyword is one that copies the spell for each spell cast before it. So if I've cast 10 spells, and I cast a spell with Storm, I'll have 11 copies of that spell. The one I'm casting plus 10 for each 1 for each spell before it, so that's 1 plus 10, that's 11. And some of these spells do things like deal 1 damage. Or in the case of older Magic cards, some of them might mill 3 cards from a player's library. Or deal 2 damage and you gain 2 life. So you can just outright kill your opponent by casting this one card, assuming you cast some cards before it. And these decks are usually very intricate. They have lots of disruption because they want to make sure you're able to force through your combo. They have lots of cards that kind of like generate mana, like generate more mana, while like not being a real card, just so that you can cast more and more and more cards. And they play lots of other cards that just kind of just look through your deck. Like they don't do anything on board; they just kind of look through your deck. But there's a couple different. Those two people do a lot of work in exploring Storm variants for old formats like Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. One of them actually has just won a GP in Atlanta not too long ago.
Congrats!
Maybe a couple weeks ago. So, and he's pretty much the source on Legacy Storm. Anyone who's making Legacy Storm list just copies his list first, and they're like, "I'll figure it out from here."
So it's kind of like a proof-like figure, or vice versa.
Yeah. It's not to say he's not good at other stuff. Like, obviously he is, just like Proof can play other clans too. But he is most well known for his Storm play.
Right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having like a thing you're associated with. Like, yes, Patton Oswalt has the KFC bit, but he's also Patton Oswalt. So,
it's always good to have. I kind of call it like a home track. Kind of like a racing term where it's like you kind of go back to it and practice skill that you may have learned out in other places. Like you always have like that nice base you can come back to, like even after you venture out to try. For me, since picking up Vanguard EX, I've been trying out like more Dark Zone clans and picking up Pale Moon and trying that out and trying out Dark Irregulars. But even though I keep trying those, I can always come back to spikes, and maybe I learned something a little different that I tried in one of the other clans here, and see how things pan out this time around. Always keep testing.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where the best way to learn how to play other decks is to play those decks. And I know that sounds stupid, but I mostly mean like, after playing with this deck, I now know what cards I consider key. So when I'm on the other side, it's like, okay, I know to retire that with this effect, as opposed to just going, I'll pick that one.
And then someone just makes this goofy, dumbass deck that you have no idea what's going on.
I mean, the element of surprise is very underrated for Vanguard.
Or the element of your clan isn't that popular, such as spikes. I don't think you understand how many times I've had people ask me what cards do at regionals.
Oh, yeah.
Or back in the heyday of Miracle Ace, I would, instead of asking my opponent, do you know what Miracle Ace does? I would just outright explain it and save the 10 seconds of interaction there. I was like, all right, look here, check this out. Here's what it does. And I start going through the effects one by one.
Is that once for sure? No.
Nah. And then I explain. The best part is that I would explain what Miracle Ace does. My opponent would then look confused and then pick it up and read it and then put it back on Vanguard. Like, yep, all right, cool, ready? And then I'll start attacking from. And then by like the third loop, when I have my third charge unit out and Frog Raider is about 45,000, they're like, how many more attacks you got? And I'm like, how much soul do I like? Count my soul, about 3-ish or so, maybe.
5, 3.
Yeah, that's always weird when like part of your winning strategy is not public information, so you can't really give them a straight answer.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, how many more attacks you got left? I'm like, I'm playing Pale Moon. I look at my soul. That depends.
I just say, usually I say a number more than 1 or something like that. I say at least 1.
I'll say whatever information is public to them right then. How many attacks do you have left? As of right now, 2. You know.
Yep. 5 soul, I have 2 attacks. Thinking about Devil Watch at the bottom of your deck.
I now have 3 attacks. But bringing it back, figuring out the Miracle Ace combo was a whole lot of fun. And like that dawning moment when I was like, oh wait, if I have these set of cards together, like combining Misery with Double Watch to get +2 soul for that interaction, little things like that just kind of put the combo into a new stratosphere, which made it a whole lot of fun to keep navigating down. Even though by the time that G era ended, I was so sick of playing combo decks because I did it for 3 years straight between Miracle Ace and Hellheart 8 that I was ready for a beatdown deck. I do still look back on those years very fondly because a lot of changes happened for me like outside of Vanguard that kind of helps keep that moment sticking out in my head, and it kind of helped my channel grow at the same time. Kind of just to bring it all back about those moments that may help spark interest in my channel. The first one was like the G era stuff coming out and putting those charts together for the combo videos helped bring a lot of eyes to my channel. And then I kind of had some fortunate luck with this whole Reddit thing went down between me and LaFunk Doctor, who's another former Vanguard content creator.
I totally forgot about this.
Yeah, that was
what
nice
happened with that again?
So the backstory, I don't think I've explained it on here before, but pretty much what happened was that sometime during G era, he came out with his own version of a tier list on the Reddit back when I was more active there, and he kind of put spikes rated lowly, and I was like, I don't agree with it, like for X, Y, Z reasons. And there was some back and forth between me and him to the point to where somebody else said, why don't you two like play on CFA to fight it out? And then from there, it kind of became its own thing on the Reddit channel. And like it blew up and it was like, all right, we're going to play on Monday. And then the old admin there kind of made separate like live stream watching channel or threads for it, and then somebody streamed it. I think LaFont Doctor himself streamed it. I didn't stream at the time, so I kind of just played my. Played myself. I played off stream, but basically we played CFA best 2 out of 3. I played Spikes and he played Angels, and after that went down, I ended up winning 2-1, and then I kind of broke it down and talked about it. And then from there, somebody took the video and shared it because they didn't like how LaFont Doctor played, and put it onto Vanguardians, which brought a whole lot of eyes to the channel. And it kind of helped people, A, see what Spice can do in a combo setting, and B, it was one of the few times at the moment that I did face cam videos. So it kind of helped people put the voice with my face and kind of put 2 and 2 together. And it kind of helped bring more popularity to the channel. And it was a nice little moment for me because I think it was one of the first times that somebody actually shared one of my videos on Vanguardians without me having to do it. So I think I traveled that weekend to my parents' house down in North Carolina. And I woke up to like 10 to 12 notifications about something. I was like, what happened here? Was there like a storm or a tragedy or something? Like, nope, just somebody like shared a video of yours. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And kind of went from there. And then the third moment, of course, was me winning ARG, which brought a whole lot of eyes because Different Fight got the video and did his analysis of the final game. Solemn gave me a shout out on his channel, and both of those guys linked to my channel from their channel, which is bigger than mine. So it kind of helped funnel in people that might have been curious about who's this Spike guy. Like they know him by name, like know him as the Spike guy type of thing, and kind of brought eyes to the channel. So it's like a couple fortunate timing things that went on that helped bring popularity to the channel, which I do really appreciate. And it kind of helped drum up an internet friendship with those guys. Like Different Fight will host me on Vanguard EX streams now, and Solemn is part of Discord and my Discord and things like that. So it is kind of cool to see where doing this channel, my channel, and the content that I put out has led me in the Vanguard world. Carve out my own little piece of the pie there. So it is kind of nice.
Yeah, what happens when you're that good?
I mean, like
something like that.
Because winning that ARG basically not only Spike Brothers is kind of known as like I guess backwater clan by most people, the Aaron Carter for most people, and so having a guy who specializes it, not only like stick with it for this long, but then go and win with it, gives you a lot of credibility to the claims you're making. Which is something that most of the Nexus people have yet to do. And yet people trust us anyway. We're like, this is a deck profile, and they're like, okay. I'm like, you're just taking it at our word? I'm not even sure about this. Okay, sure.
It did help legitimize the things that God, I can't talk. The legitimized things that I do say, because in Vanguard, like with other competitive environments, results mean everything pretty much. So I can say whatever and focus on the clan, but if I go to every tournament and O2 drop, nobody's going to listen to the words that I say. So it was nice to be able to go to ARG with a deck that I had a lot of faith and confidence in after the testing I put into it, and come out with the victory. A, because it was nice to finally win a big tournament in Vanguard, and then B, just the timing of it, of being like the very first big premium tournament for V era, and like a lot of eyes were on it because there's like the big pariah that was OTT Ishitam, and then all of a sudden OTT Geese comes out and it's like, what in the world is this? And then amongst all that, one of the 3, I want to say, Spike Brothers clans or Spike Brothers players, 2 of which made it to top 16, and then I ended up winning it. Kind of like, it was just, I like to call it the wild, wild west of Vanguard, because there was no telling what was going to be going on that weekend. So it was nice to be able to come out with the victory after all of that, and it felt really good.
Yeah. I still remember the finals. Me thinking that you like adapted to Gize in the finals, like your force mark replacement.
Actually,
that, like not being the case.
That was actually the third time that I'd faced Gize in that weekend, and I faced, as I mentioned then, I faced it in the very first round. Had no idea what in the world I was facing, so I had to like try to learn it on the fly. And then I played against the guy in finals during the Swiss event, during the Swiss rounds, and so I was like, this worked in round one. Let me try it here. And I don't know why, for the life of me, I chose to do a different strategy in the finals, but I took the L for that one. And I was like, let's go back to plan A, what we were doing before. So if I had done it differently, game whichever one it was where I split the force markers, I may have won 2-0 and not put myself in that position where I had to do the big loop at the end. But it did kind of make it a nail-biting, exciting finale for the fans. So for that, I'm happy.
What was that?
Especially because I'm trying to put out videos as fast as possible, and so trying to fumble with some type of theme song or try to do like the motion intros that people have, which are very nice, but I just don't have the technical know-how, and I'm like, my channel's my baby, so I kind of limit how much outsourcing I do for certain things. Mm-hmm. So I was like, by this time, like, people know my name, people know that my name comes from a Bad Meets Evil song in part. Well, mostly. That's not true.
I mean, it's a good song.
Yeah, my name, I learned of the song, and then I picked up the name when I was playing Pokemon Smogon, and I was like, I really like this name, so I kind of stuck with it and like changed everything to Living Proof. Not that definitely don't doubt it. I love the song, incredible song, but I'm rambling because I'm tired.
No, it's okay.
I lost train of thought.
Your intros are good links too. I hate it when channels have like a 30-second intro. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, I've actually trimmed it down after suggestions because like the part that I had before was like 10 to 12 seconds long, and then people didn't like it, so I kind of just snipped it down to the very end where it says the name, and I think I'm at like the nice middle ground to where it's a suitable intro for all videos involved.
You hear just Worldwide American Way, Living Proof, and then cut. That's it.
Actually, I don't even hear that anymore. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. My bad. I don't even know my own intro.
Or like, pardon me. Or like I watch a lot of False Swipe gaming, and they used to have like the intro was like this camera going down the length of a sword blade, and then it would go back in the sheath, and then say False Swipe. Now it's just shing, False Swipe. That's it. Like that's all you need.
Because if your intro's like 15 seconds long, people are going to leave the video before they even get to your content.
Yeah, or they'll try and fast forward and then overshoot it, and then like, especially if you're watching on your phone, it's it's a nightmare.
So trim it down.
But yeah, you are a specialist, and you are special in our hearts, and you are an amazing Vanguard YouTuber. And the reason that I wanted to do this episode was I'm almost half asking the community. There should be more specialists like Proof and Wave Nation and Commander Jaime, rest in peace. But he's not dead, but he just hasn't done content in like 2 years. Anyway, I really think that this should be more of a thing. And I know what they say, like, the best way to, if you want something done right, do it yourself, but I'm already kind of a public figure, so it's hard for me to be like, I'm the Great Nature guy. I'm not doing that. So
there was someone who tried to be the Great Nature guy. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, maybe
it's hard knocks out here for content creation because there's so much that goes into it that like you might have a good idea for 1 to 2 to 3 videos, but then once you get to those first 3 videos, it's like, what else do I have to say, type of thing, and it becomes hard. And then if not a lot of people are watching it, then you kind of get discouraged about what you're putting out there. So it is kind of hard. You got to kind of have to pay your dues, so to speak, quote unquote, to help get the word out there for your channel to grow. And it does take a couple lucky breaks, like it did for me. Like if those things didn't happen at the time that they did, then I don't think I would be as widely known as I am now. So kind of sometimes you gotta just keep pushing and let those breaks come for you.
Yeah. And
I think makes it difficult too is the fact that there's not like a good like online Vanguard client. CFA is a little ugly.
Yeah.
So like I mean it's like works for what people want to do, but if if Cardfight Line had actually happened,
it'd be a lot easier to just get our point across.
Yeah.
We'd have a lot more like games accessible. We'd be able to show off deck building more easily. We could do like test runs goldfishing without having to awkwardly shuffle two browsers.
Oh, I remember those days. The Beyond life. But that's why I've been pushing so much content out through Vanguard EX, because fortunately, Raging Tactics was the last set that they put on this particular game, which means I have access to all the Spike stuff, which, lo and behold, I'm going to be putting out content for it. So it kind of worked out for me in that regard. And I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I'm starting to branch out more to using it for like more deck profile type of things. I actually need to get a video up for that. But like, kind of just need to take advantage of the stuff that we have, which is part of what the content creation game is. So when you have CFA most accessible, you kind of have to use that if you want to get gameplay footage out there. Or you got to have a nice local group who's willing to let you record at the shop or things like that. But even with that, it kind of comes with, do you have a good camera? Or if you want to stream like I do, can your computer handle it? Or do you have a laptop that can handle it? And then by the time you've invested a good chunk of money just to be able to record appropriately, and then you have to hope people like what you put out there. So, and it is kind of a vulnerable feeling to put something out there with your name and or voice and or face on it. So if you don't have a big following already, you kind of it's trepidatious to put that content out there and hope people like it.
I have an important question.
Yes.
Is it for me or in general?
For proof. Of the Spike decks post Raging Tactics, which one should I build on EX?
Which one should you build on?
So helpful right now, Matt. Thank you.
And I'm sure other people have this question too.
I mean, if you have 15, man, I'm playing. There's a lot of different decks you can make post Raging Tactics, depending on what your end goal is. So there's 3 basic archetypes. There's like the steady build, which is like Bull Spike and Safe Read, and or Bad End. There's the rush build, throw everything down and hope for the best Coyote build with General Safe Read. And then you kind of mash things together with Bull Spike, Bad End, and General Safe Read, which is what I've been working with because Bad End's a good boy for me right now. So I've been kind of enjoying what he does. Bad End's a good boy.
I copied the Bull Spike Bad End list, but I was like, before you got rid of your Spikes channel, but that was all I got out of it.
Hey, it's a 10 grade 3 lineup, which is kind of common now, but also kind of rare for Spikes because we usually just kind of tunnel down on 8. But we have a lot of good pieces in the grade 1 and grade 2 slots now to help get pieces to your hand, especially good old boy Ronaldo to help put pieces on board for you.
Yeah, that guy's nuts.
Oh yeah, Ronaldo's nuts. But sometimes he puts a lot of junk on the board, and that's where Bad End comes in handy to help clean that up. And I've been learning some small things about Bad End as I've been testing it, like the way it prevents deck out against Mega Colony was pretty neat. So little small things like that. And then some much nice needed crit pressure without having to go force 2 if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Little Vanguard, little Spike Brothers deck building talk at the end always makes for a good podcast.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I believe that that is the end of this episode. Proof, where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere. I'm worldwide, baby. You can find me on my Discord channel, which they'll have a link to in the description, most likely.
Yes, we
will. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, which is Living Proof VG. That's the best way to find me.
Yeah. We'll also link that in the description, too.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm also on Twitter at Living Proof VG, and that's mainly it. You'll find me most talkative in my Discord channel. If you want to ask me general spike questions, I can answer them more readily there. I do answer some YouTube comments sometimes, as long as they're not silly questions or crazy banalities out there, if that makes any sense. But usually the best place to get information from me is from my Discord channel, because it's easier to respond in real time for me. So things like that.
That'll do it. Matt, how about you?
Find me on Twitter at Wiggums 2Gs 2Zs.
You can find me at Plasma Eclipse. I do the arts. I've been doing a bunch of stuff for Inktober recently.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we've been retweeting it. Let's see. And then you can find me personally at Atlas Novak on both Twitter and Instagram. I also have a thing I'm working on that I'll reveal in the next few weeks. It's a project, and I think you guys will like it. Otherwise, you can find this show at Nexus at Night on Twitter or Instagram. The last thing we put out was how freaking ripped Alt Mile is, so enjoy the slightly homoerotic vibes. What?
Please.
Please what?
Please enjoy.
He has the
please enjoy.
Yeah, he has the best abs. What are you talking about?
Wow.
They don't call him Abs Mile for nothing.
Never once heard that name.
I think that's just you.
It is.
That was probably only
Well,
you.
we have called him Absmile on this podcast multiple times.
Yeah, but it's mostly Atlas.
Yeah, that's true.
But Abs Mile is Bay, so what are we complaining about?
And I still have this Royals case split just sitting in my drawer unloved.
Shame. Is that MLB?
No, this is like way back in the day for Alt Mile.
Seriously?
Oh, that.
Yep.
It's
Just
just
I
have
get some wrestling.
Alt Mile sitting in my drawer unloved.
oh my god, that's nuts.
At this point, you may as well keep it there. You ain't gonna see any play anytime soon.
Yeah.
What's not?
Yeah.
Brave.
Yep.
Figuratively and literally.
Rest in peace.
So much oof. Alright, well, until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
I'm Root Beer.
I'm Proof. Tell me you want me back.
He's worldwide, everybody, and have a good night.